This story of Martha and Mary, it is a very controversial one. It angers some people and confuses others, especially when they identify or take sides of one sister or the other. It is indeed one of the more polarizing gospel stories. Some people look at the story from Martha's point of view. They say, Mary let Martha down. Mary should have helped Martha serve Jesus and his disciples. And she should have done her share of the work. Those who sympathize with Martha say that if we take Jesus' rebuke of her seriously, if we're to believe that Mary was the more correct and she chose the better part, and Martha should have sat down with Mary and listened to the Master, well then, who would have made and served the food? Who would have done all the work? A work that in itself is an expression of love. Those in Camp Martha, they claim that Mary is unfair to Martha and that Jesus really doesn't help this situation very much by telling Martha that she's too anxious and that Mary has chosen the better part. Other people, of course, look at the story from Mary's point of view. They say, Mary did the right thing when she chose to sit by Jesus and learn from him. Jesus is, after all, the Lord, and Jesus himself confirms this when he tells Martha that Mary has chosen the better part. And some of those in Camp Mary then go on and ask the question, besides, what business did Martha have asking Jesus to chastise Mary in the first place? But the question remains, what, if anything, was wrong with Martha's choice? Didn't Martha honor the Lord by her response to his presence? Didn't she show love to him by serving him? Doesn't Martha attempt to answer and please the Lord? This then truly is the dilemma of today's gospel reading. We got two individuals who are portraying the welcoming of Jesus. And they both respond to his presence. One by working for him, by serving him, by feeding him and his disciples, and the other by listening to him and learning from him. We have service and prayer. There's always this wonderful balance that's in St. Luke's Gospels. Last week, if you remember, we saw service at its peak because of the parable of the Good Samaritan. And next week, we're going to hear Jesus teach us the perfect prayer. And then sandwiched in between those two pieces seems to be an illustration of both. However, I don't want to fall into the trap that one of these ministries is superior to the other, or for that matter, that Mary is superior to Martha. But yet, there is something fundamentally wrong with Martha's response to Jesus. First off, Martha not only does something that is rude and inappropriate, especially for the first century in the Middle East, by asking Jesus, a guest, to chastise Mary. But more importantly, she also fails to show love as she ought to. In Martha's effort to love one neighbor, Jesus, she takes away the love from another, Mary, her sister. Martha is worried and distracted by many things, and she's so worried and distracted, so anxious, that it leads her to anger. And it ruins any efforts that she might have had to be a loving person. Martha is distracted by all she's doing, and she comes to Jesus, and in her anxiety, in her frustration, she asks him to yell at Mary. Tell her to help me, she says. And the response of Jesus to Martha's plea is not a criticism of her work for him, nor is it a criticism of her love for him, but rather it is a response to her anxiety and fear, a response to how she regards the choice that was made by Mary. Does Jesus care that Mary's neglecting any work that's associated with hosting a group that's in their home? No, he does not. And he certainly is not going to recommend to Mary that she get up and help serve the drinks. Jesus doesn't care about what Martha wants Mary to do, but rather, Jesus cares about Martha. You can almost hear him saying, Martha, will you just relax for a minute? I can't make Mary help you because you think that's what Mary should be doing. But what I can do, though, is love you. Right here. Right now. I am with you here. You got no control over what Mary chooses to do, but all you can do is love her and love me. That, folks, is what I think is the better part. This gospel story, it is not just about prayer and work, but it is also about our inclination to judge others, about asking God to take sides. Haven't we all sometimes prayed like Martha? Oh, dear Lord, help my neighbor be just like me so his lawn will look better. The bottom line is this: God does not take sides. He does not attach any credence to our judgments of others, because God cares about us, every single one of us. And as we heard last week, we are supposed to care for others. Martha is suffering from major burnout. We see Martha getting so anxious in her attempts to care for Jesus that she's unable to care for Mary. She's unable to see the importance of what's going on around her, the big picture. So I think Jesus is really saying to her, Martha, you are so busy looking after me, so busy serving me, so concerned that the right things be done, that you are missing being with me. That's the very thing that Mary has chosen. And that's the thing that I will never take away from her. I believe that this really is the whole point of the Martha-Mary story. Some points of life are temporary and others are eternal. Occasionally, we need to put aside the work we do for the Lord and just spend some time being with Him. Just spend some time learning from Him. Just spend some time enjoying the Lord's presence. Some time being refreshed and recreated by His Spirit. Some of us are more like Martha, and some of us are more like Mary. but there is in all of us a built-in need to combine the two within us. For without sitting and listening to the Word, our work for God can only lead to anxiety and anger. And without acting upon the Word, our faith is meaningless. You see, there is a need occasionally to get the visionaries into the kitchen and the kitchenaries into the vision.